Here's a look at what we made using the supplies from the Mixed Media Inspired subscription. I'm working in my Large Dilutions art journal, and I'm ripping up several pages of vintage book text. Now, all of these books I got from the library when they were discontinuing carrying them anymore, and they were going to be thrown away, actually. So I purchased them, and I'm now giving them new life in my art journal. And I'm gluing everything into the journal with Distress Collage Medium. So I'm putting a layer down with the Distress Collage Medium brush, placing the vintage book text, and then doing another layer over the top of it. And this is essentially a sealing in the book text. And so I'm also making sure to rotate it so that the text is facing all different directions, up, down, left, right. And that is going to just make it a little bit less obvious that it's book text, and it's more going to be a decorative element in my journal. So I'm doing this all over. And then when I'm happy with it, I'm going to go in between all of these cracks and place white gesso. And I'm also going to go a little bit into the book text. And this is just to soften the edges, blend it in a little bit more, so when I am applying colors and patterns on top later, it's not going to be so distinct. Now off camera, I did sketch in this picture of a horse. And then I am going to apply a piece of Dina Wakley Media collage paper. This is from the Flying Things pack. And I'm using a wet brush to tear around it, and the wet brush is essentially dissolving some of that tissue, so it just makes it much easier to separate. Now to glue it down onto my page, I'm using some gel medium from Dina Wakley Media and a Finnabar silicone brush. And why I love the silicone brush is that it makes applying any kind of tissue really, really easy and eliminates any wrinkles, which we all know for tissue paper, that's very hard to do. So I applied a layer of the gel medium, then put down the tissue, and then went in with the silicone brush and some more gel medium. And you can see I'm smoothing it out here, and this is perfectly smooth on my page. Now after this has all had some time to dry, I'm going in with my first color, a Dina Wakley Media paint. Now the names of the products and all of the colors that I'm using to create this page are listed in the description below, so check that out for more information and also where you can purchase these products. So I'm just putting down this paint with a paintbrush, but I'm also using my finger to smudge it out so that I don't have 100% perfect coverage, and also it allows me to go around all of the birds. And as you can see, I'm going in with my second color of blue, and I'm just painting it around so I'm having a more interesting background. I'm not trying to have 100% coverage anywhere. And then we can begin painting in the horse. So this is going to be very intuitive color placement. I'm making sure that I don't have any colors that don't play well together touching. So I went in with yellow, then some greens, and I'm also blending it in with my finger as I'm applying this. And because I did take some time to do this, I'm going to just skip forward in the video so you can see the sections of color, but not me individually placing every single color, just because it did take me a little bit of time to block this all out. I'm painting this entire horse with Finnabar liquid acrylics, which is a fluid medium, and it does allow the book text that I placed on there to show through, which is why I chose this particular brand of paints. So the horse's face is yellow and green, and then going into the neck, it's oranges and reds. And then fading down into more of the body area, it's purples. And then as we kind of move into the rear end of the horse, that part is also going to be blues and greens. And I'm making sure, as I already mentioned, that any color that doesn't play nicely isn't touching. So, for example, red and blue go nicely with purple, but I've divided the purple away from the orange and the green because those colors would not blend nicely. And I'm also, as I'm doing this, using the same brush so that the little bit of the blue goes into the green and it helps it blend for a more natural transition. So I am creating my own colors. And after I have all of the paint placed down now, I can begin layering on top of the horse. So here I'm just cutting out a piece of that same book text I used earlier to fit into the ear so that the ear will not be so stark. And also I wanted to block off the birds that were in the ear, so I'm just blending it in. And then I'm painting the right ear of the horse blue. That matches also the same blue that I used in the neck of the horse. And I'm just going to paint two of the different blues there so that I have some color in the ear. And then I will also put some color onto the left ear, and I will make that match the red of the horse, which is the side that we see. And now that we have the base of the horse colored in, we can begin painting in the mane. So I'm just using black gesso for this because I want it to be very matte and I want it to go on very thin, and I don't really want there to be any sort of shine or something taking away from the horse because we already have a lot going on with this rainbow horse, right? So the mane is just kind of there because we need it. And also I'm wanting to, when I'm using this brush, I'm putting it on very loose so that you are seeing the brush strokes, which mimics the wispiness of a horse's mane. I'm wanting this to look very natural, very wild. I don't want the horse to look groomed whatsoever. So sort of like a wild Mustang is what I'm going for here as I'm painting in this mane. And that's also why some areas of the mane are a little bit longer, some are a little bit shorter, and I'm working in rounds. So I put the first round and then I'm going back in and I'm lengthening it in areas so that it can be very natural and wispy, as you can see here. So the most important thing when you're doing any kind of animal or natural elements is that you do things in rounds and then go back and add, because once this is painted on, we can't take it away. It's very stark and very black. So I want to put a little bit in and then look and then add some more and until I'm happy with it. Now I'm going in with a stencil and some white paint on a mini blending tool, and I'm putting this in a few areas on the horse because this is going to be like the spots of the horse. Now, this is a flower stencil, but I'm wanting it to have that kind of natural botanical look to it. And then after that white paint is dry, I'm going back in with the coordinating paints that I used earlier in the same areas to tone down the white. So I'm wanting to kind of be a tone on tone look, and you can see here. Now these spots on the rear end of the horse are going to be green, but because I have that bright white there first, it's not going to blend into the horse in the same way. And I'm going to do this for all of the spots on the horse. And then I'm bringing out that black gesso again and I'm painting in the tail of the horse. Following the same creative steps as I did with the mane, just adding in until I was happy with it and making it look very wispy. So now that I have all of this drawn in and I'm happy with it, I'm going to bring out my black Posca paint pen and start outlining all of the details of the horse and start bringing this whole thing together. So I'm going to go around and then also draw in some details like the nostril and the eye in different areas of the horse. And then also, like for the nostril, as you see here, I'm going to color it in 100% with this black Posca paint pen. And I'm making sure that as I'm using this black Posca, before I did anything, that the paint underneath the color of the horse was 100% dry, so I'm not risking any of my pens by doing this. Now, as I said, I'm going to also do this to outline the eye, and I am taking care to just kind of follow the marks that I made before when I was first outlining this, and then I will let that dry 100%. And then I'm going in with a white Signo pen, and I am going to just outline all of these black birds that we glued down earlier from the tissue paper, and just adding a white outline on all of those. And then I'm also going to doodle some designs into the black area of the mane to make this a little bit more of an artsy horse, because we've already leaned into that idea with it being rainbow. So there's nothing realistic about this horse per se. So here I'm just going to draw some vines and some different things to decorate the horse, and I'm going to do this all along the mane. You could, of course, if you don't feel comfortable doodling, but you wanted this concept, you could stencil, or you could stamp and then, add your own little details with a pen. There's lots of ways to go about doing this concept. I personally like doodling, so I'm going to just do this with my white gel pen until the entire mane is covered, and then I'm also going to freehand some scrolls and some more leaves down below on the horse, kind of coming up from the bottom right corner up into the body of the horse. And I'm not really following any set pattern for this. It's just kind of where I think it looks good to add a scroll or, another branch. And then I'm also going to have this be a little bit more of a flowering area too. So in some of those gaps, I am planning to add some flowers. And I'm going to do that using Nuvo crystal drops just to add the 5 petals of the flower and then a white center. And this will dry dimensional. So I'm just going to add those flowers everywhere and then leave that to dry. To add a little more color to my background, I'm using a wet Dina Wakley Media scribble stick and just scribbling the color on and smoothing it out with my finger. And then I'm going to rip up some paper towel and cover my horse so that I don't get splatter anywhere I don't want it. And I'm using the tip of a Dina Wakley Media gloss spray. This is in the color black, and I'm just flicking that onto my page so that I have really tiny, nice speckles everywhere. And I'm going to do this until I'm happy. And then I will remove that paper towel and let this dry. My very last thing I'm doing is using a piece of Prima ephemera. This is from the Spring Abstract set, and I really liked this quote that said "wild as the wind," but I didn't really like the circle design around it, and I didn't really feel like the circle kind of matched anything I was doing, so I'm just using my scissors to trim around the circle and remove that pattern. So then the quote will be left because I liked the age look of it, I liked the typewriter, and so now I'm making this ephemera my own and customizing it. To glue it onto the page, I'm using Tim Holtz collage medium again, this time from the Precision Tip bottle. I'm just squeezing it exactly where I need onto the back of the ephemera and placing it on my page. And with that, my page is complete. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you were inspired and got ideas to use in your own artwork. I'd love to see what you're making, so please take a picture or a video and tag us using hashtag ArtJournalJunction. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and also check out some of our other videos. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything we post in the future.